Whiskey Throttle Spotlight is brought to you by Yamaha, the leaders in the power sports industry. Join the Blue Crew today. By Nihilo Concepts, boost your bike's performance, reliability, and aesthetics with Nihilo products. Flow Vision, high-performance goggles and eyewear. And by Complete Racing Solutions, your one-stop shop for human performance and wellness.
Hey guys, it's King with Whiskey Throttle Media, and today a really cool project from our buddy John at Mullet Moto. This is an 84 CR500, kind of a rare bike. It was right before a lot of changes, the last air-cooled machine, and as far as vintage racing goes, it's not a real desirable bike because you get competing against 89s and things like that. But you wanted to do a tribute to Danny Chandler, which I think is awesome. I think he's a guy that's really underrated. What a cool bike to do it on. Tell me a little bit about the history of this thing.
Yeah, so I picked this thing up in Salinas, completely original. Every piece that you see on the bike is the original stuff that came off the showroom floor.
Seat and everything you said.
Yes, This is original seat. All the plastics, the little shrouds, all that stuff is all original. Just insanely clean bike. So I had to buy it, of course. And I've got a buddy that's always on me because I take these bikes and then I frame them and restore them and they look beautiful. And I've always got this one buddy who's like, oh man, you got to keep them original and this and that. And so I thought, okay, well, this thing's so clean. This is an opportunity to keep it original, build something cool, and then race it. Right around the time I bought this, I just so happened to see this Danny Chandler documentary on YouTube, which is super rad. The riding, the way that he rode and stuff, the guy was super gnarly. And as it so happened, this bike, when Honda shot the promotional photos and stuff for the bike when it came out, Danny Chandler was on the bike running his 22 numbers. So this bike with the numbers and stuff was made to look like the bike that Danny Chandler rode in the promotional photos. So that's how that all kind of evolved.
And this 84 was notorious for detonating. There was a lot of engine problems with it, and you had a fix for that.
Yeah, that's one, like you said, that wasn't super popular when it got released. The bike before this, the CR480, was a really good bike. People loved it. So then when they bumped up the displacement to the 500, there was some head chamber design problems and jetting issues and stuff. And so guys, they were detonating and blubbering and really hard to ride. And, since then people have come up with fixes. And so, I sent the head off to Arizona to Harry Clem, and he remachined the head. And then I upgraded it to a newer carburetor and then rebuilt everything. And man, it runs awesome.
The one other thing you did was a little bit to the forks.
Yeah, so that's the only other thing that's not original on the bike other than engine internals, right? Because I new bearing seals, all that stuff. The forks are actually 88 forks because those are cartridge forks. The original 84s were damper rods. And you can buy emulators to make them emulate a cartridge, but I thought, well, I don't want to emulate a cartridge when I can put a real cartridge. So
right.
It's got an 88 fork on it, and then I had to machine some custom spacers because the axle diameters are different. So I had to machine some custom spacers to keep the original front wheel. So a little bit of custom machining, and those 88 forks, and the 88 forks seem to work really good.
And you also upgraded the brakes while you were down there, might as well.
Yeah.
Again, which we've mentioned this before in your other builds, when you get to this vintage racing, the brakes are such a big deal. These are fast bikes. Horsepower is not usually the issue. You can get going fast.
Yeah, it's got a motor.
It's hard to stop with these drum brakes. So this, not only does it have a rotor, but it's an upgraded kind of system that really works well. And there's something about this thing, the sound to it. And unless you've ridden a Honda 500 or one of these old 500s from this era, it's hard to really explain, but it is just a deep, throaty, raspy, nasty ring-a-ding-dingy thing that just sort of stirs something up inside you, right? Like It's just so fun to ride.
Yeah.
I was blown away at the power, the roll-on. You had mentioned maybe it vibrates kind of at higher RPMs. Felt pretty damn good to me. Like it pulls hard, and you still want to short shift it, but it'll still pull. It doesn't ever sign off. This was really one of the first old air-cooled 500s I've ridden, and I was really impressed with the motor. Forks too. Holy cow, they're just plush. Better than a lot of the current stuff I've ridden. Just really supple. The shock was really stiff for me. We got a slight weight differential and height differential between the two of us. But man, I just had so much fun riding this thing. it's like driving an old car with old stick shift. You know, there's just something about it that kind of connects with everything in you.
And that sound, I mean, you like you're saying, you start the thing up in the pits and everybody looks because it sounds so cool. And then standing on the side of the track and you're just, you know, before the jumps or jump landings, just that little wah, like it's just the coolest, deepest bitchin' sound. They're really cool.
Yeah, for me, it takes me back to those old 500 days and watching the pros ride them and my heroes, you know, riding these things. I will say some of the things that were really notable for me, the seat gets wider and taller in the back. So not only is the back tall and stiff, but when it does hit you, I mean, it paddles you. I had to be really careful there. And then the foot pegs, they're about as wide as my finger, and you feel like you're standing on a piece of rebar. I mean, they're so thin. I can't imagine being on your arches and over jumping something. Boy, it's important to stay on the balls of your feet and just keep yourself from sliding off those things.
Yeah, I try to keep it original. That's why they're there. And I ran a race here a couple months ago, and it's all fine when everything's dry. Within the overwatered section, there's a puddle. Man, I go through it pretty soon after that. My feet are going. It was like, oh, dude, this is crazy.
That is one thing that's definitely sketchy about these older bikes, but just the playfulness of this motor. And, you know, I was just looking for everywhere to get into a smooth line and be able to just bury the throttle, because that sound and that pull was so fun. And I had the front brakes to stop, so I wasn't worried about anything. Anyway, super fun bike to ride. And you've done some racing on this. You raced it at Mammoth.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome. It's so fun. It's so cool. I raced it at Glen Helen too, and it was smooth. And like you said, dude, on the starts, because it was smooth, it was just sticking, and it just, I mean, it just pulls. And Mammoth, the same thing. Mammoth is such a cool 500 track because it flows so good.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you're going to be riding this thing more. Man, I just love the attention to detail. Everything from the gold bars, just all of it. You've done a really cool job, and thank you so much for letting us have a spin on it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's fun.
Anybody you want to thank? I know Dunlop set you up with tires for this thing. Who else helped you with parts?
Well, that was pretty much it.
Just your
Everything
employer.
Yeah, me and working overtime. That was the extent.
Well, you can follow his builds and some of his work at Mullet Moto over on Instagram, or share this video, subscribe, like it, and show your friends. A lot of work, a lot of love goes into these things, and man, it's an honor that you just let us show these and have a ride on them. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, stay tuned. We got lots more cool content coming here to Whiskey Throttle Media.